Hello, everyone. It is a Monday. How are you? Good to see everyone. And greetings. Invoking great favor upon all of you today. Full restoration. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And just, you know, I say confess it. If you got to do it 20 times a day, it'll eventually get real to you. So, hello, everyone. Hello, Warrior Queen. By the way, we're going to have Lois on Wednesday. So, looking forward to that. Hello, Merritt. How are you? Hello, Franny. Good to see you. Eric, Michael, Awakened Being, Infinite Quarters. Hey, isn't that the truth? Ronald, hello. How are you? Good chatting with you earlier. Heidi, hello. And David Castle, good to see you. Ojaba, good to see you. Great Scott, hello. My best friend, Jeff. My best friend's Jeff. Oh, okay, cool. 420. I saw that. Hummingbird and Isabel. Hello, you good people. How are you? Um, Gilbert, I don't know if you're still in here. But hey, buddy, um, we just we just speak peace to your grandmother. Um, we're all going to face that moment, and no doubt fear will try to in there because so many of us have been. Um, it's like you're on either side of the fence. We've been taught in a particular dogma, which is not a very good choice. Then if you are just saying, oh, I'm not buying any of it, well, what options do you have? It's like, is it going to be lights out? And if it is, if there's nothing there afterwards, then no one has anything to be afraid of. I mean, your memories, most of us, by the time our departure comes, we have forgotten more memories than what we remember. But I think that there's yet a third alternative. We're energy. I happen to think we're spirit. Um, we're going to be discussing today. Seems to be a real difference, too, between spirit and soul. So often I think those get interchanged. But anyway, Gilbert, we just speak peace to your grandmother. And as I told you before, kiss her forehead and just tell her, say, Grandma, you weren't afraid to be born. Don't be afraid to be born again. Unfortunately, they've taken that term and kind of coined it for themselves. uh, you have to have laughter. Remember, it was reported by Don Knotts' wife and subsequently his daughter that when Don met that moment, uh, he went laughing. Why can't we be taught that? You know, if our bodies are frail and, the spirit is ready to move on, I think laughter is the best way to send any of us on. So there you go. Patrick, oh, it's mom. Okay, well, hey, buddy. So we're thinking to you on that one. And, I think she's in for a tremendous adventure. I really do. Um, man is awakening to so many new things on this channel, other channels, other venues, other media platforms, outlets, etc. We're getting better at seeing what has always been in front of us. We're still suffering from the gap of what I call cognitive awareness. That was destroyed by the churches, the powers to be, in all of the great destruction of the accumulated knowledge of our species. Alexandria, Constantinople, many others, where collections of our conscious awareness, and knowledge was destroyed. And I think today we still suffer from that. It's like having a limb amputated. We're trying to adapt and to overcome, but no matter how brilliant we are or how we perceive ourselves to be today, those gaps of that knowledge are hindering us. And part of that is, you think about it, when it was discovered and announced last week that the Earth's atmosphere extends out over 1 million miles. I don't think most people comprehend that. You would have to go around the world, its circumference at the equator, 40 times to make the 1 million miles. The moon is in our atmosphere, in the Earth's atmosphere. It's interesting. But we take books that have been wrongly translated, wrongly used for indoctrination purposes and not for the advancement of man, and certain words like firmament. Now, unfortunately, the Christians have just bloodied that word all up in the translations. I think that there was an awareness until the 1200s, right around then. There was something that happened again that injected itself into our consciousness. And again, a great amount of knowledge was burned, destroyed. So let's go, well, Dave, I see that, but let's go beyond the dome. I think that that's only half a truth. I contend that firmament means kingdom, a separation of different kingdoms. We're in one kingdom here. I contend that there is a kingdom so massive, so enormous, it engulfs the whole earth. These are where the Archons dwell, the angels, thrones of where gods sit, gods. The thing that I'm getting from this book, and let me tell you something, there's a couple of us who have read it. I've sent it out to well over 316 people to date. So, and if you've read the book, not the commentary, not what my relative did, but if you read the book itself, folks, I'm not going to tell you what's at the very end of it, but there is something very special for those who read the book. Very special. And I'll say this, my dreams have come alive again. I'm dreaming vivid dreams, wonderful dreams, dreams that are opening new channels of thought. And because of what I'm doing, I'm literally writing this book word for word almost. And you gain a certain insight to it that others don't, others won't. And so think about this. Remember what I showed everyone on Friday? I want you to meditate on this as well. You see, it occurred to me, the more I went back and continued to look at these, the more I began to realize something. This is the kingdom. All religions, all beliefs, it's not out there in somewhere away land. It's right here. And if you think about the ascension of the soul, the spirit, 1,000,000 miles. How many different eternities would that take? I contend this is, and we see them. I mean, you think about a creature that has potentially the length, the size of over 1,000 miles. In a kingdom, in the firmament, the upper firmament, a being 1,000 miles would be the size of an ant. But what if you had different layers, different, how shall we say, archons, eons? Every different layer within this firmament that extends out 1,000,000 miles. Could you imagine? You could literally have another Earth inside of it. I mean, I'm talking physics that we don't understand yet. Yeah, I understand the science of why we have this, but this is the veil. As my wife said, there's a word that you women would know what this is, pleats. It's royalty. We're told in this book how these archons love taking on the shapes of animals. And I know I showed this again, but come on, folks. You think that just happens? If you think that this just happens, give me a call. I got some property. I'd love to sell you some oceanfront property right outside Salt Lake City. Magnificent creatures, beings, archons, divine beings, showing their majesty, their glory. They've been there all along. We lost this knowledge, is what I contend. I'm putting it in my book. I tell you, I am writing now. It is flowing. But it's a matter of how you look at something. One of the things they teach law enforcement, detectives, special agents with the FBI is how to look at something and realize there can be the best place to hide something is in plain sight. And it's only disciplined eyes that see this. Who knows? This may be Lilith herself. But this is what I'm talking about. If we have the atmosphere, which is the firmament, extending out over 1,000,000 miles, why, you could have kingdoms upon kingdoms and never reach an end. So this is what I contend. And of course, everyone knows where this showed up last week. I don't think that this was a coincidence either. I think it was, I don't know. So think about this. I'm writing last night, and this thought hits me. The floating cities that we've seen, photographed all around the world. What if they are actually cities? People like us, souls, spirits. I mean, think about this. We can't see the veiled. We can't see the unseen. We can't see the firmament. We know all the science of why the Earth's atmosphere acts as, a lens. I mean, the moon is 250,000 miles away. 225, right? You go outside the density of this firmament, this kingdom, it takes on a whole different look. Our astronauts see that, but our astronauts never go into outer space. They're still in the Earth's atmosphere. Technically, man has never been in outer space. How about that? I think that this kingdom, this firmament, as well, is where we see so many UFOs that appear to be lights in the sky. Not craft, but lights. I contend that's exactly what they are. These are light beings. You see, I think we've been misled. The Liber Lilith, say what you will about her, she is kind of just exposing it all. I contend that the Apostle Paul, the Pauline epistles, were written because of the knowledge Paul got from the Liber Lilith. We know Paul had it. And this is what I've had. I had so many emails from Christians that are just freaking out. Because when they go and check me out, and you look at Origins and his writings, he said it. I didn't. And we know his pupil, Eutychus, did it the same thing, wrote the same thing. So much of what Paul wrote in the epistles, I find directly correlating out of this book. This changes the whole dynamics on a worldwide basis. And a lot of people can't handle it. But we're the first to ever do this. No other place can you go and have literally a word-by-word analysis of this book. That how did it manage to find itself in the hands of the supposed founding fathers of Christianity? No one wants to explain that. Who else did this book fall into that other worldwide religions have been predicated upon? The history of the book is authentic. Now, I guess the only thing that could be potentially up for debate would be the accuracy of the translation. But it seems to be pretty well accurate from those that have been exposed to it. Now, what my family namesake did, well, it has that effect on some people. But let me just say this. I have a new respect for the eons. I have a new pair of glasses, so to speak. And when I start looking at this, and we're going to get into this right now, part 6, and it's like any other book of mysteries. Reading it once only gives you a mere glance. It's a smell of a perfume that quickly waxes away. It's when you really get into the book and begin to study it, in a sense, you begin to find out more of these mysteries, and mysteries they are. It's different. I don't know. Blazing River, it may be. I mean, I can't help but not think that when you read this book, knowing that it predates every book in the New Testament, every book, And then you see almost direct quotes from this book into the supposed holy book, the New Testament, the New Covenant. I mean, if it doesn't give you serious cause to step back and ponder this, the thing I keep asking as I'm writing my book, how come did Paul incorporate so much of this throughout his writings? Don't know. So if these characters exist, and I got to tell you, hey, Kaz, how do you like that tea, huh? Kaz sent me an email and actually found the Bengal spice over there in England. So good tea. And now she says, now I'm addicted to it. It's delightful. So the way I kind of weigh this is, see, I studied that other book for nearly a half a century. A freaking half a century. And you know what? Everybody was fine with that. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. You need to do that. I had someone write me and say, well, I'm getting concerned. You seem to be really into this book. Yeah, I am. Hey, one of my favorite sci-fi books is F. Paul Wilson's Night World. I've read that book 15 times. I have an eidetic memory. I almost know it by heart. So yeah, that's how I do things. Never write a business plan? So yeah, you do get insight into it. And like I said, I made a vow for everyone here. And if the deity Lilith exists, I said, well, let's get your side of the story. But here's the thing. It's like the guy that jumped off the 10-story building. And the detectives were coming there and they were asking people each floor if they heard the guy say anything. And the woman on the third floor said, well, yes, I did. And the detective said, well, what did he say? She said, the oddest thing. He said, as he went by, well, so far everything's okay. It's just the way it is. I mean, if a schizophrenic decides to commit suicide, isn't that a hostage situation? So what I'm just reading here is a schizophrenic that's writing, it seems to be a tell-all book. And so far, it's been very amusing. It really has. I mean, it's been informative. I mean, I've read many a novel that, dare I say, did not have my attention. Yeah. 333. Yeah, there we go. We get those numbers all the time. So, hey, folks, let's get into today's session on this. So, as you know, on Friday, we left off with the fact that God still sends his angels of wickedness. And, you got to ask yourself, how does a holy God, why does he have wicked spirits around him? Why would a wicked spirit obey him? If he's a perfect God, well, that would be the antithesis of it, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, I know. Someone said, Steiger, sometimes you just overthink things. And I said, to what point? All right. Would send his wickedness. And by the way, if I was a woman, this totally hacked me off. Among the daughters of men to take those whom they desire. Now, we're going to get into this further because the implications of this, again, it's a outrage to humanity that this is even being allowed by any God. And apparently it's still happening. and carry them away. And by the way, can I just say to the military here, I'm getting tired of all the helicopters. They're in some sort of training here, folks. The ones I don't like are the ones at night. You know, they come through about 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. The big boys, the troop carriers. Yeah, that'll get you up and going. Anyway, and carry them away to bear them upon, to bear upon them to give birth to the offspring out of darkness. This sounds like abductions to me, doesn't it to you? He will harden their hearts, this is God, of those who worship him, and lead them astray with many deceptions. We talked about the Lord's Prayer. Why would God lead you into temptation? God will guide them into trouble and away from the truth. God will instruct them in the arts of war and the ways of destruction. That's what he says he is. He's a wrathful and vengeful God. They will grow old before their allotted years in the multitude of their miseries that God puts on them. Isn't that what he said to them as he kicked them out of paradise, the prison, into another one? In this way, the first Archon seeks to enslave the whole of creation, capital C, and cast all of mankind, capital M, into bondage. Again, think the Lord's Prayer. Now, the mystery names. I'm just going to tell you, for those of you who've read this, the first time, it's like being on one of those rides, the teacup ride. You know how you get, how you can get people in there that can really start spinning the thing, and you got the other guys who, are just enjoying the reflex on the abdomen. So here we go. Lilith and her consort, Samael, are one flesh, even as Mother Eve issued from the side of Adam. So Lilith came out of the substances of the prince of Archon. What does that word substances mean? The ether. Same word. The ethereal. Think about that one, folks. This is so freaking loaded when you get into this. Came out of the substances of the prince of Archons. Do you see where I'm trying to get on this firmament? When this single essence takes on the image of Adam and goes to lie with the daughters of man, she is called the slant serpent. Two essentials in here in this passage. The substances and the essence. Is this what we're trying to find at CERN? We're looking for that God particle. But until science gets back onto its natural track and begin to accept the fact that the ether does exist and is more real than dark matter ever was, and dark matter is a fallacy. When this single, when she puts on the skin of Eve and visits the Son of Man, she is called the convoluted serpent. Both named serpent to signify oneness. Oneness is, how did it come to me? It's a presence. Tangible. Someone said, well, I'm really going to look forward when we use the invocation. I wrote them back. I said, we're not going to do that. That's foolish. One of my clients way back in the day was Richard Petty and his son, Kyle Petty. And I went to the Richard Petty driving school, and right there in Charlotte. And, you would not put a student driver, and even though that was a modified stock car, it was still over 550 horsepower, thereabouts. And you can go as fast as you want to go. And trust me, things begin to get, how shall we say, moving very quickly and very slowly when you start getting speeds up to about 140, 145. Anyway, quite something. All right. Lilith is called Northerner because all evils descend from the north. It is the region of storms and pestilence, the place of winds that send perpetual darkness upon the land. I gave this some thought. And if you go to Earth Null School, which I've shown you, which can actually show you the jet stream, show you the Earth's ocean currents. But if you look up at the 70 millibar level of the atmosphere, it's about 100,000 feet up, you see these wild jet streams, rivers of wind. And I began to ask myself, okay, Steiger, what else would influence that? I mean, given, rotation of Earth, electromagnetic field, interaction between different elements, heat, cold, moisture, dryness. And then I began to think, what if you had something on top of the Earth that we haven't discovered yet that would influence the weather in ways that we had not comprehended before? What if there are beings that's all they do? I don't know. It is the region of storms and pestilence and the place where winds send perpetual darkness upon the land. That perpetual darkness, I began to think about this as we discovered that right underneath the mantle, we're finding now valleys, mountains that dwarf the ones that are on the topography. Also, Lilith is inwardly cold from the castration of the blind dragon and must steal the warmth of copulation from mankind. Lilith, she is the sinful being, never satisfied. Her womb gapes and cannot be filled. Though she lie in a strange bed every night, her lust torments her. In her arms of her lover, she yearns for the embrace. At the height of pleasure, she feels bitter sorrow. The fruits of love are empty husk. She hungers for the warmth of love, but is never fed. If this deity exists, that's your definition of hell right here. You know where they got the concept from. I mean, you look at all the pantheons, Rome, Greece, China, Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Chaldean. This book existed back then, which appears that it said to have had. Well, you could see how this could have huge influence on cultural beliefs. Eve and Lilith. Eve is grandmother Lilith, and Lilith the ancient because she is older than mankind. Think about that. She was here before us. You see, I contend this kingdom, in the Sumerian poetry, Anu separates from earth, Ea. And Anu goes off with the heavenly firmament. Could it be that Anu's kingdom resides out on the edges? That would make his kingdom vast. It would be Earth again, would pale in comparison. I mean, in the Sumerian text, it's very clear as well what Inanna does. We know where Enki went to the kingdom under the firmament. All wickedness flows out of her womb. The ongoing offsprings of the unions between the fallen ones and mankind are brought to her, and they attach themselves to the endless hem of her skirt. I know it says shirt, but it should be skirt. She nourishes them on wormwood and rears them as her own children. This is disturbing because I think it still happens today. I mean, this clearly indicates such is still occurring. Angels and mankind still having intercourse, still producing hybrids. I mean, you can look at this thing from, again, a more knowledgeable modern perspective of what we suspect are to be extraterrestrials, different life forms, different species, different bipedals, different unseen beings, different mass, different makeup, outside of a carbon-based form. I mean, you think about the X-Files. This is what primarily it was predicated on. The whole series Chris Carter was bringing to you was the fact that this has been ongoing from the beginning. What we call fallen ones, angels, are extraterrestrials, but only in the case that they may exist up in this other kingdom, this other firmament. Different laws of physics, different laws of science apply. But throughout this book, breeding seems to be a top priority. Never seen a bunch of horny gods and all my. I mean, sometimes I lay in bed and I go, what the hell's wrong with you people? This is all you got going for you? You can't be God. It's so low and debased, but yet remember, they have knowledge that we would translate wisdom. And I contend, folks, if this is in fact what's happening, could be the answer to a whole lot of other things going on here. So who is Eve? Eve is called mother of abortions because she hates fruitfulness in the daughters of Eve. With wicked arts, she produces miscarriages. Eve is the scant measure because she catches the seed of man that issues forth during dreams and the seed that is cast upon the earth to prevent pregnancy. And she uses it to heat the engendered monsters. Men who sleep alone in the bedchamber fall prey to her caresses. Now, in my biblical studies back in the day, I was good at it. Well, I don't talk much about it, but I was good at it. I could never contend. I've got writings that go back 35 years ago. And I could never figure out in the Gospel of Mark, the strangest book of all of them out there. And, because here we get introduced to this cat that's supposedly the savior. And he's out walking around eating mushrooms and, going to city. And in every place he goes, he's casting out demons. Now, I went back to the Old Testament and I can't find demons. Like, where the hell did they come from? Well, they came from hell. Well, I get that, but where the hell did they come from? I mean, you read about this, and it's primarily in the Gospel of Mark, which was never written by Mark. Anyway, I mean, so who is this species? They're invisible. They have supernatural powers. Hell, they can inhabit us. They can apparently push us to the side and come in and take full control. They can do masterful things, manipulate photons, matter, material. Now, supposedly, you can cast them out in this guy's name, but then I want to know, when did they all get converted? I mean, what if you got a demon that's a Muslim? I cast you out in the name of Jesus. Screw you. I don't know the cat. You know? But this is what this indicates. I know, it's wild. Eve is termed the night hag, and for this reason she sits upon the chest of those who lie asleep, and she sucks out their breath with kisses. Now you know where the story of the incubus and the succubus comes from. You're going to be smarter than everyone around you. You're going to have knowledge they have no idea about until they read my forthcoming book. Her sweet, sickening fragrance clogs their nostrils. That's where you get that term, sickening sweet. I lived down in Texas, and, you know, as a kid, we moved to this property that was just trashed. I mean, literally, and it was covered with honeysuckle vines. I hate the smell of honeysuckle. To this day, that sickening, sweet smell, I knew it immediately when I read that. Came alive again. Sometimes she sits on the faces of men and draws out their spirit with her matrix. Matrix in this term literally means what it is: to cast a spell, to create a reality that you think is real. And she enters their dreams. Think about this. We didn't talk about this. We're getting the panel together when we finish this book. But this is one of them. She enters their dreams. This indicates that the dream state is as consciously real as a being awake consciousness. And get this, and plays and makes sport with them. They lie as if bound to chains that they cannot cast off. Wow. Now, you know, I often wonder, okay, where did Dante get his vision? Could it be possible this book influenced that as well? It seems like it. I think there's strong foundation to support that. Eve is called the strangler of children, and she goes to the cribs of newborn infant souls and attaches herself to the little faces. She tries to enter into them and receive the shape of their vessels, seeking to join their souls with hers and possess them. Folks, this one, when I read it, it's almost like I can't actually believe I'm reading something wrote this. It answers a lot in so many ways, because back in the time when this was supposedly written, in what we call sudden death infant syndrome, SIDS, was a real problem. A family was known by its worth by the fruitfulness of how many children a couple would produce. The more children ensured the couple that in their old age, they would be taken care of. We lost that, unfortunately, in today's world. That's how it was always meant to be. And so the horror when so often a mother would come and find the baby dead. And so the agony, the torment of such a loss, you can see how those feelings and how searching for answers lead to building of a character that this is one of her traits. But taken outside of that, it's real interesting because it says that she wants to take the shape of their vessels. Now, that to me sounds like the spirit. And look, seeking to join their souls with hers and possess them. The vessel we know from the writings that we've already gone through is the clear light, that divine light that's in us. And so when I take those and I say, well, I like that aspect, but I don't like this. You see, it doesn't work that way, sweetheart. You got to take it both good and bad. So just suck it up, cupcake, and we'll get along. Deep. Eve is the scarlet whore because she wears a red dress to arouse the passions of men. And this is the color of wantonness. It goes back, folks, talking about colors and associated with characteristics. So also is her hair the color of flames. She rides the back of the blind dragon as it flies in the great circle that is the compass of the world. You seeing where a lot of the John's revelation may have come from? The compass of the world. We've always asked the question, why can't we see pictures of the North Pole? They won't show it to us. Is there something there? I contend there is. Hovering between two existences. Eve is queen of harlots because of all fallen women who sell themselves for a price. Eve, if even for a loaf or a jar, they all serve her as handmaidens and worship her. Now, this price is interesting because it basically implies that, well, you could attach, that price in the act of fornication. It's a loaded word, but it's also very broad and could catch a whole lot of, let's say, women in it. She instructs their minds in perverse arts. They are made bold in sin by the courage she grants, and it is a kind of reckless madness that drives them onward to greater madness. It was interesting. I was out about, and I was at my favorite place that I've hit, and one of the people there, we were talking about this, and I said, well, if you ever want to get to know Lilith more, you can just go over to the channel. And he turned around and he looked at me, he said, no, I dated that bitch in college. I think I may have been high school, but I mean, so hello to everyone at the Nature's Kiss. I'm telling you, I dated her. Eve is known as the alien woman for the reason she comes stealthily between a man and his wife, even as a corrupt serving girl that seduces the master of the house and draws him away from the marriage chamber. The master forsakes his wife and lies in a bed of lawlessness. He makes her the mistress of his house, and then she betrays him and takes all. The question I keep on asking here, so where are these laws? Again, where are these set of laws that needs to be presented? Now, you can't say they're the 10 Commandments because that's BS, folks. Anyone who tells you they're 10 Commandments, they are ignorant of what they're teaching. It was 10 letters. Never 10 Commandments, 10 letters, if it was given at all. So, my question is to the accuser, show me these freaking laws. And who made them? God? Well, who says he's God? I got to have ID. I need at least 2 forms of ID. I need to see your resume, and I need at least a couple million references. That's what the true Sapien Summit will be doing. Who is Eve? Eve is called the maiden, for when first she comes, for she puts on a modest face and speaks with chaste words. Her limbs are covered. She feigns a manner of innocence, like to a new bridegroom on her wedding night. All this falsehood is to engender love that can be corrupted. Beneath the concealment of the hem of her garment, she is a pillar of fire. And I wrote here, I said, this is a very different picture of the mother of mankind. Are we seeing this other side of Eve? Is this the anger side for her rape and the disgrace by God and what he did to her and a crime that he will yet pay for? Listen, there is a debt that mankind will be paid back for. What these gods have done to us, they will stand accountable for it. If there is any justice in anything called creation, then the first one to be judged will be God. He owns this baby. And they owe us a big time debt. That's the other thing I'm getting out of this book. We have been so totally manipulated from the get-go. They say we're sovereign, but never allow us the sovereignty. They say we have free will, but you go to hell if you exercise your free will, which they say wrongly. Who is to determine the term wickedness? By what rule? By what standard? By what precept? By what mind? You say sin. What sin? How do you define sin? You say the sin that man did against God. Which version of man? Homo articulus? Homo erectus? No. Maybe it was Cro-Magnon. You see, they won't answer those questions. Why? It destroys the whole dogma. Eve is messenger of God. Eve is called the messenger of God. When she enslaves a man to wickedness, she leaves him and rises up to the highest reaches of the firmament, capital F, and proclaims her victory to the eons. She denounces the man before the throne of the Father of all. He gives her permission, and she descends and slaughters her lover as the sheep is sacrificed and consumed in fire upon the altar. Then she carries his soul to Gehenna. She also sends demons to plague all mankind for its transgressions. I wrote down here, I said, this sounds a lot like the accuser, which must be addressed. Man, by this God, is nothing but a mud thing. By the actions alone, these creatures are not for man. So here we get another clue. They're all through this book. she reaches the highest of the firmament. Where's she going, folks? And proclaims her victory to the eons. Gives you a sense that eons is a noun. So therefore, this has to be a physical place. She denounces the man before the throne, not capital T, as we've seen another, of the Father of all, and he gives her permission. What? And she descends and slaughters him. Murder. That's what it is. So this God gives her permission to murder. How many times have we seen that written in other books? Sacred books. All right, well, we'll stop there for this session. There's plenty more behind it, trust me. There's a lot more behind this one, but yeah, we'll continue on this. So, boy, I got the look at that. I often wonder, well, why are they here? You know, if you can put together a better presentation, do it. But for the rest of us, it's compelling. If you just study it, it provides for me a lot of the open-ended questions I had. Whether it be right, whether it be wrong, I believed another book to be the only book for half a century. See where that got me. So remember this, folks. If you only will listen to one side of a story, you're going in circles, honey. You're not going anywhere fast. We've got to get out of that mentality. Knowledge is neither good or bad. It is. And if you're going to try to become selective and start to begin to classify knowledge, you're just going to end up ignorant. That's all you'll ever be, is ignorant. Sucks. I don't want to be ignorant. I'm tired of being ignorant. That's why I read. Like there's no tomorrow. One guy wrote me, he says, so what do you think you're going to get out of all of this? I said, well, I'll put it this way. I'm a hell of a lot further along than I was. That's what I got out of it. Also got peace of mind. I'm not tormented by the questions anymore. I'm tormented by fear. I'm going to do a whole program on this reward and punishment. All right, Richard. Thank you. So as we get into the next section, we begin to see how our bodies are literally dominated by what I contend, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this. If a spirit can exist at all, then maybe this is not interdimensional. Maybe it's more inter-atmospheric. I mean, if demons exist, if angels exist, if spirits exist, if death exists, we see, for the most part, all spirits lifting up. I think they're lifting up into the firmament. So, anyway, all right, folks, tonight got Dr. Claudia Albers. Looking forward. We were off last week because I had business to tend to. So looking forward to this. We'll be talking to Claudia about that. She's been busily writing. I'm sure that we'll bring up the whole Planet X thing. You know, I had to state that several times, you know, what my position is on that. And anyway, so, all right, folks. So thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Listen, folks, thank you so very much. Thank you, all the moderators. Tomorrow we're going to be with Patrick Garrett. talking with the planets. Send your questions in. I got a lot of them. Wednesday, we're going to have Lois, Warrior Queen, on. She runs the food pantry. And don't send donations to me. I want you to send them to her. We'll put up her PayPal address and see if we can help feed some people. And then Thursday, we'll pick up back up on here. It's going to get better. And I'll just tell you, those of you who ride with us to the very end, there is a special invocation that whoever wrote this pronounces upon those who read this. Think about that. You see, favor exists everywhere, folks. And we all can use the favor. I love you, folks. Man, y'all are the best. Thank you for enriching my life. You have made the journey even more exciting. And I look in here and I think, wow, you want to talk about wealth. If you can be a part of a group like this, that's wealth that money can never touch. That's what makes it so special. All right, folks, we'll see you later tonight. Be good to yourselves. Thank you. Bye-bye.